YouTube, what's going on? It's been way too long, and why do I have a can or a bottle of Coke Zero with me for this video? Well, you're about to find out. In all seriousness, yes, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. Let's just kind of ignore that. Let's pretend like I just posted last week and this is just a continuation of that, because I don't want to be one of those people who's having to justify why I didn't post. I know I post all the time on TikTok and Instagram, but I don't post a lot here. Let's change that. Anyway, let's get right into the video. So this video is going to be probably part one of a multi-part series about how to actually be in a calorie deficit. Everybody and their mother on social media is always talking about, you have to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. You have to eat less calories than you burn. Great, wonderful, fantastic. How do we actually go about achieving that? Well, that's why I'm making this video. I wanna give you some practical tips that you can implement to not only figure out how to be in a deficit, but also make the process just a little bit easier so you can minimize hunger and just not have to feel like you're dieting all the time. Make the process a little bit more seamless. So without any further ado, let's just get right on into it. Here's the first point. Okay, the first way to make your calorie deficit way easier and how to actually be in a calorie deficit is when you're thinking about your meals that you're eating, breakfast, lunch, dinner, even your snacks. When you look down at your plate and you see what's on that plate, are you mainly prioritizing protein and fiber, or are you not prioritizing protein and fiber? Because we want to prioritize those two things because they are both incredibly filling. It's not to say that you shouldn't eat carbs and fats. You should absolutely include those in your diet as well. It's just, I want you to think of protein and fiber as sort of the star of the show. You think about it like we're watching a movie and you have the star, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, maybe George Clooney. Those would be the star of the movie, and then you have more of the supporting cast, which would be an actor that maybe you've never heard of before. The supporting cast would be more like your carbs on the side, like a little bit of rice or a little bit of pasta, or like fat on the side, like avocado, something like that, or even the drink on the side. So when we're looking down at our plate, when we're designing our meals for weight loss, are we prioritizing protein and fiber? When we look at our plate, is the majority of the plate both protein and fiber? Because if it is, you're way more likely to stay full in your calorie deficit, which means you're not gonna feel like you're dieting quite as much. I want you to think about it like this. I want you to compare two meals that you might eat. Meal one would be like chicken breast with sweet potato and asparagus, and meal two is just a bowl of pasta. Which meal do you think is gonna fill you up more? I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I'd put all my money on that first meal because you get protein from the chicken breast, you get fiber from the asparagus, and you're also getting a very satiating carb in the sweet potato. Anytime you eat a meal like that, you're always walking away from it feeling at least somewhat satisfied. It doesn't mean that you're not going to experience any hunger. When you're in a calorie deficit to lose weight, there's always going to be some level of hunger. It just comes with the territory. But in order to minimize that hunger, you want to make sure the majority of your plate is, protein sources and fiber sources. If I eat that bowl of pasta, I'm walking away from that meal probably feeling hungrier than I was going into it, which is obviously not what we want. So I want to get into a few different ideas for what foods to include to get that protein in and get that fiber in. So I'll just kind of go breakfast, lunch, and dinner, give you a few ideas. So for breakfast, protein sources could be eggs, egg whites, Greek yogurt. If we're talking about something a little bit quicker, like you're on the go in the morning, something like a protein shake or a protein bar would be great sources of protein as well. And then in terms of fiber, usually it's gonna come in the form of maybe something like oatmeal. Actually, let me show you the oatmeal that I eat every day. I eat every single day for breakfast, literally like every day. I don't remember the last time I didn't have this. There's 3 grams of fiber in a packet of this oatmeal, and it's only 150 calories per packet. So that would be an example of a meal where you're getting a more filling carb and also you're getting fiber in it as well. That would be a great source of fiber for breakfast. Another really good source of fiber for breakfast would be fruit, specifically the berry family. I love me some berries. Strawberries, blueberries, raspberries. In fact, raspberries are one of my favorite foods for getting more fiber in. 100 grams of raspberries is about 7 grams of fiber, which is just incredible because that's not that much food, but you get a ton of fiber. It packs a huge punch. So getting berries in the morning is a great way to get fiber in as well. So all in all, maybe your breakfast would look something like egg whites with some spinach in there and oatmeal on the side. Or maybe it would be a bowl of Greek yogurt with some mixed berries in there to get your fiber in. So you're getting your protein and your fiber, and those are some examples for breakfast specifically. And then when it comes to lunch and dinner, I'll give you a few examples that you could eat for both meals, because obviously a lot of the foods you're eating at lunch are similar to foods you eat at dinner. So what I like doing is, when you look down at your plate for not breakfast, we just covered breakfast, Dylan, memory. For lunch and dinner, you want about half of your plate to be veggies, a quarter of your plate to be protein, and about a quarter of your plate being carbs. So when it comes to protein sources for lunch and dinner, I'll go through some of the basics. Chicken breast, ground turkey, ground beef, salmon, tilapia. When we're talking about veggies, we're talking about things like broccoli, green beans, asparagus. I think you know what vegetables are. I don't think I have to go into a ton of detail there. And so the way that you would craft these meals for lunch and dinner is you'd pick a protein, you'd pick a veggie, and then maybe you'd also pick a carb to have along with it, something like white rice or gold potatoes or sweet potatoes, brown rice, maybe even a little bit of pasta, just to give yourself that carb fix in addition to the protein and fiber. And if your meals look like that, where you have the protein on your plate, you have the fiber on your plate in the form of veggies, and you have the carbs, what more could you ask for? Those are very low calorie foods that are probably gonna put you in a calorie deficit, even if you don't track your calories, because you're deciding to eat foods that you know don't break the calorie bank, which means you're keeping each meal relatively low calorie, call it 500 to 700 calories per meal, which means you're probably gonna be in a calorie deficit. All right, the second way to make sure that you are actually in a calorie deficit is potentially a little bit counterintuitive, but hear me out. It's you never wanna go that long without eating, okay? Now, for a lot of people, they kind of do the opposite of this. They try to go as long without eating throughout the day as possible, thinking that it's a good way to lower their calories and put themselves in a calorie deficit. But let me paint a picture for you as to why that usually doesn't work. So let's say it's a random weekday, you're going to work, it's a Wednesday, you wake up in the morning, you get your kids ready for school, you send them off to school, you get yourself ready for work, you go to work, maybe it's a really busy day at work, you're there all day, you don't really eat that much because you're so busy with your job, and maybe you skip breakfast, you have something super light for lunch, and then you get home at 5, 6 o'clock at night, you have your normal dinner, but now it's 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night and you're still really hungry. Well, why is that? It's because throughout the day, you didn't nourish your body. You didn't give your body the calories that it needed, the calories that it wanted. And so that hunger built up throughout the day, and now it's manifesting itself in the form of you binging on a sleeve of Oreos at 9:30 p.m. Now, this is the really important point to consider here. A lot of people would say, well, I wasn't hungry during the day, so why should I eat? Because you have to anticipate the fact that you're probably gonna be left feeling hungrier as a byproduct at night. And by the way, at night is usually when people have the least amount of willpower, right? You're not busy with work anymore, you're at home, you're chilling with your spouse, you're watching Netflix. That's when you're more likely to eat the chips or the cookies or whatever. So by getting ahead of your hunger earlier in the day, you're less likely to feel famished at night. So my biggest tip here is never go that long without eating. Have a full breakfast, have a full lunch, have a full dinner. That way, you're never going more than a few hours without having a full meal. So you're never fully depriving yourself, which means you get home at night and you just don't feel famished. Again, you might have a little bit of hunger. That's just a part of being in a calorie deficit, but you're not gonna be like over the top hungry to where you wanna clear out your entire pantry and just go balls to the wall. We don't want that. We want more moderation here. So try to eat more regularly throughout the day. And to add another point on top of that, and this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, you wanna try to eat around the same times each day. So if you normally eat your breakfast around 8 a.m., try to keep that consistent. If you normally eat your lunch around 1 p.m., try to keep that consistent. If you normally eat dinner around 7 p.m., try to do that as consistently as possible, because when it comes to our hunger really actually runs on a schedule. So if you're used to eating at a certain time, your body is going to send those hunger signals at that time every single day, particularly something called ghrelin, which is that hormone that makes you feel hungry, gets your stomach rumbling a little bit. And if you are used to eating at, call it 1 p.m. for lunch, and one day you're too busy and you just don't do it, Well, around 132, you're gonna start feeling really hungry because your body was used to getting nutrients in at that time, but now you're not giving your body those nutrients, which means you're left feeling deprived. And again, anytime we experience that crazy level of hunger, that's not what we want when we're trying to lose body fat. We wanna try to satisfy that hunger, ideally before it even comes. So, knowing that you're gonna be hungry at sort of these regular intervals throughout the day, try to get ahead of that by eating around the same time so that you're not allowing the hunger to build up throughout the day. You're just eating when you're used to eating. Keep in mind, it doesn't mean you have to eat at literally the exact same time every single day. Like if you normally eat breakfast at 8 and you end up eating at 8:15, that's not a problem. Give yourself sort of a range. So maybe I eat breakfast between 7:30 and 8:30, or I eat lunch between 12:30 and 1:30, and I have dinner between 6:30 and 7:30. That way you're keeping those times consistent, but you're giving yourself enough kind of variation there to account for the fact that life changes every single day, things pop up, and you can't always eat at the exact same time. Now, the third way to actually make sure you are in a calorie deficit is by limiting liquid calories, and that's exactly why I had this bottle of Coke Zero at the beginning of the video. Let me explain why liquid calories, drinking your calories, can be so detrimental when you're trying to lose weight. What you gotta keep top of mind, and I don't have to remind you of this because you've experienced this time and time again, is that when you're trying to lose weight, managing your calories from food is already hard enough as it is, right? Not always giving into the fast food, not always eating the pizza, not always eating the cookies. It's hard to have that level of willpower. To add on top of that, having to manage liquid calories from soda, alcohol, juice, things like that, just adds another layer of complexity that's completely unnecessary when we're in a weight loss phase. Because if you can just cut out those liquid calories or replace them with lower calorie alternatives, it's one less thing that you have to pay attention to. So instead of having to track food and beverages, now all you really have to do is pay attention to food, which makes the weight loss journey just so much easier. Because I guarantee you, if you're anything like me, if you're anything like my online coaching clients, I guarantee you that you care way more about eating your calories than drinking them, okay? Sure, you might like your soda, you might like your drink, when you get home from work at night. I know these things are part of your routine, I get it, but I guarantee you care more about food than you do beverages, okay? So why shoot yourself in the foot by adding in all these additional liquid calories when it's already hard enough to be in a calorie deficit as it is without them? Now, when it comes to liquid calories, for most of you, you're either in one of two camps or maybe you're in both. Either you're in the camp of you're someone that you drink a lot of soda and that's where you're struggling with liquid calories, or you're in the camp of you're drinking a lot of alcohol. Now, if you're in the soda camp or maybe you drink regular Coke, my biggest tip is to swap it out for a diet alternative. Don't buy into all the fear mongering that you see on social media about how diet soda is terrible for you. It is not. It's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. It's one of those things where the dose makes the poison. So when you consume it in smaller amounts, like 1 a day or 2 a day, you're not actually consuming enough of the artificial sweeteners that people fearmonger about, that people say are so bad for you. You're not actually consuming enough of them for it to be harmful to your body. I think you'd have to consume something like 12 to 36 cans of Diet Coke a day for it to actually get to the level where the level of aspartame would actually be harmful to you. I don't know about you, I don't know anybody that's drinking that much Diet Coke. So if you're having like 1 to 2 a day as a way to get that soda fix, maybe quench hunger a little bit, I don't see it as a problem. I actually see it as a potential plus when it comes to weight loss. Because you gotta remember, for weight loss, calories are king. And so if you can take out regular Coke, right, where a can's 140 calories and you're drinking 2, 3, 4 of them a day, if you can cut that out and replace it with diet soda that's 0 calorie, you could potentially be saving 300, 400, 500 plus calories a day just by making that simple swap. You're not even cutting soda out of your diet, you're just replacing it for diet soda. So I think purely from a weight loss perspective, that's a really underrated hack to get yourself to reduce liquid calories. Now, when it comes to alcohol, maybe it's not quite as simple. So when it comes to how to drink alcohol while you're trying to lose weight, or can you even drink alcohol while you're trying to lose weight, I actually wrote an entire article on my website on that exact specific topic. So I'm gonna link it down below in the description for you to check out. But to give you kind of the Spark Notes version here in this video, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Alcohol is never going to help you when it comes to weight loss. It's only gonna be a nuisance. Not only from a weight loss perspective, but also from an overall health perspective. There's no way There's no getting around the fact that alcohol is just not good for you. And from a weight loss perspective, it just adds unnecessary calories, not only from the drinks themselves, but also from the food that you consume while you're drinking. Anytime I've ever been in a situation where I'm drinking alcohol, there's always food involved too, whether it's an event, a party, a dinner, even if it's just like drinks with friends, but there's appetizers like a charcuterie board or something like that. Like there's always food, there's always calories from food involved in that social environment as well. So it just makes it so hard to keep calories down. If you are gonna drink though, you're like, it's a big part of my life, I'm a social person, I get it. In that situation, I would say try to limit it to about 1 to 4 drinks per week. And when you do drink, try to keep it to lower calorie options. So whether it's like a vodka soda or a tequila soda or a light beer or a seltzer, or even like a glass of wine that's only, 100, 150 calories, try to keep the calories down from that and try to avoid the super high calorie mixers that you might get when you drink like a margarita that's 350 calories or something like that. Try to keep the sugar down while you're drinking, and that way you can at least manage your calories and not go completely overboard. So there you have it. I hope this video helped. 3 ways to actually help you be in a calorie deficit and make your calorie deficit a little bit easier so you don't feel like dieting. And that was part 1. So if you want me to make a part 2 and beyond of this series, you gotta let me know. You gotta give me feedback. So you can let me know down below in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'll have my Instagram linked in the description. Let me know if you wanna see more videos like this. And also, if you got value from this video, it would mean the world to me if you would hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. I am going to start posting more, I promise, because I'm always posting video content, short form video content on Instagram and TikTok. It's time to bring that to more of a long form platform like YouTube and give even more value to you guys. So make sure you subscribe for future videos, and I will see you in the next one.